Hello, I'm Dr. Oshrit Birvadker and welcome to the second episode of Jew Pakistan. In today's episode, we're going to talk about local Lord of the Ports. The privatization of Israel Haifa port brings many opportunities for India's port tycoon Gautam Adani, but it may also entail many tests when dealing with the local Lord of the Ports. For decades, Israel labor unions and dockworkers were stronger than any government, and it seemed like nothing could stop them. But when the unions reached their crescendo under their charismatic leaders, the government managed to overwhelm them and brought global players into the field. The story of dockworkers largely echoes the story of Israel. The product reflects the political, economic, and social transformations that Israel has gone through, from a socialist state to a welfare state to a first-class libertarian capitalistic state. But at the same time, it portrays the battle between the right and the left wings, the bureaucrats against the common people, and in some way, the rift between the first and second Israel. Over the years, the Israeli public, with the help of the media, has created a problematic image of dockworkers, establishing them as militant and violent. But there is anyone to blame. It is the one who created labor agreements, specifically the Secretary of Histadrut, Israel General Federation of Labor, Yitzhak Ben Aaron. According to the collective agreement signed in 1966, any changes in the work method will require the approval of the manufacturing committee. The agreement gave dockworkers a unique status in the day-to-day management, similar to the status of the shareholders, and the streamlining of port work won't be the sole discretion of port authorities, but would be subjected to the dockworkers' veto right. And over the years, dockworkers' expertise in using their veto rights to improve their wages and working conditions what became uncontrollable and insatiable behavior. One of the primary sources of dockworkers' power is the deep foot in the Israeli politics. In the early 2000s, the union could sense the direction of the wind and encourage members to register with prominent political parties to increase their influence on politicians. In August 2008, this turned out to be a constructive step when the Ministry of Finance presented a proposal to the government, bringing Israel one step closer to the long-awaited privatization demand. The resolution resulted from an inter-ministerial team of the Ministry of Transportation and the Budget Department, part of the Ministry of Finance. The purpose of the proposal was to regulate the set of authorities and required processes for the operation of the future port by a private international entity. Aware of the aspiration of Transportation Minister Shaul Mofaz, the union decided to shut down all ports on August 2008 in response to what they saw as a unilateral move by the government. Mofaz, who had been focused on his plan to capture the Kadima party leadership, was surprised by the iron fist of the Histadrut and the dockworkers. He turned to the cabinet secretariat and demanded to withdraw the already approved proposed resolution. The union also fueled a rivalry between the Ministry of Transportation and the Ministry of Finance and initiated a wild strikes against all protocols. They declared a strike in 2008 without announcing a labor dispute first, as required under the law. The Histadrut, which usually follows the rules, protected the workers' right to strike, calling it a spontaneous strike. The union set an ultimatum and announced that they will continue to cease port operation until the decision is revoked. But this is just one drop in the ocean. From its founding days, Israel ports were a focal point of strikes, sanctions, labor disputes, and constant battlefront between the government and the Manufacturers Association of Israel. The success story of Israeli economy depends on its ports, and the lords of the ports also know that. Lacking a land route with its hostile neighbors, the land of milk and honey is an island economy. Even for local productions, the Israeli rely on materials transferred by sea. A slowdown in the activity or shutdown of the ports dramatically affects the country's economic activity. The 2011 strikes at seaports resulted in an estimated $2 billion worth of damage within a week. The government had to compensate exporters and importers at the expense of diverting funds from other services that should have been provided to the citizens. One would think that the monopoly of Israel's seaport had ended with the privatizations and that the Israelis are marching towards a new age of manpower efficiency. But the reality is a bit more complex than that. A few days after the Adani Group took over the Haifa port, the dockworkers were embroiled in internal battles, with each group trying to grab a large share of the privatization grant. In recent years, dockworkers have abused the right to strike. But strike can also occur under private ownership. The operation of a port by a private entity does not guarantee a weakening of labor unions or the suppression of organized labor. Privatizing Israel port has expropriated Israel's national asset from the sphere of internal politics and turned it into a matter of international relations and national image. Even with the successful change of ownership, the new owner will not be able to streamline operation and violate the labor agreements signed by the state. This agreement will remain the new owner's dowry. But who else can do better with the most Asian practice than us, the Indians?